Hi, how are you? Karibuni sana. It is always an exciting thing to have you, and it is good to see you once again. Today we're actually asking and answering a question. How far would you go to save a relationship? You around.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so today we're answering an interesting question.
Yeah.
How far would you go to save a relationship? In this case, it doesn't necessarily have to be like a romantic relationship. Whichever relationship, a relationship with your parents. Now, I know that the degrees of how far people would go would vary depending on the relationship, but let's start there.
Yes, let me start by saying, first of all, which you've already said, but it depends. Of course, and let me start with family, because I found myself in that position where I had to, choose whether certain relationships with certain members of my family were worth saving, or I just had to do away with them. But one thing that really keeps me going when it comes to saving friendships or whatever is that forgiveness doesn't always necessarily mean reconciliation. Because some of us really hold back on forgiving because we feel like, if I forgive you, then I'll have to reconcile with you. And that is not a journey I'm about to start. It's a journey I don't want to commit to. But it doesn't always mean that you should reconcile with a person. You can actually forgive someone and decide to go different ways. Because in life, I think there are people who you just have to, part ways.
Yeah. The relationships that when it gets to a point, you actually decide that where we've gotten to right now, it is better if you go your way and I go my way. So you're saying that for family, it gets to that place where you decide. I think one thing that makes family that's touchy part is because they're family whether you like it or not.
Exactly, and there'll always be that.
Yeah, you guys have that same blood flowing through your veins. So.
But even with that said, Grace, I don't think that whether we have the same DNA, whether we have the same blood group or stuff like that, I don't feel like I have to always be around you if being around you causes me pain.
Sure.
Because I feel like life is worth much more. And so I can forgive you and, walk away. So that then whenever you need me, if you really, really need my help and you're not, trying to pull up some stunts to just get my attention, then I'll be there for you.
Okay.
But I will not guarantee that you'll be always, because then there are people who, when you're around you, there are all those people who just bring out the worst in you for some reason. Their energy, or is it your energy?
Bringing out the mother in me.
Then you don't even want to backslide. So for the sake of your salvation, you really want to guard a lot of things because you also want to guard your heart.
Yeah.
And so some people are just, whether it's family or whatever, they're just toxic.
Yeah.
And telling them that doesn't even help because again, some people put up walls.
Yeah, true. The people. Now, that's in regard to family. Then we have friends.
Yeah.
Because at times there are concepts that people have and ideologies that people have that at the end of the day, family will always be family. But now when it comes to friends, they'll support you. You guys will walk other journeys that probably family members do not know. But at what point, how far would you fight Sasa for a friendship with someone who's not necessarily family? You guys met. Some of them could be maybe high school friends. Maybe let's assume like a girlfriend who you had when you were in high school, and then you came out here and somehow maybe you guys had an agreement or you guys fell out at some point. How far would you go to making sure that she's my best friend, I need to get her back, I need to save this, it was a friendship worth saving?
So two things I'd really like to address when it comes to friends is that one, you outgrow some friendships.
Don't.
It's sad, but you do. And that's the whole thing with some friends for a season and others are there for life.
And sometimes we don't understand that. We actually think that because we were friends in high school, if for some reason we cannot keep communication, you become a bad person, you've changed, you mean.
And it really damages some self-esteem.
Yeah,
it does, because you had 5 or 6 or 7 friends.
We used to be a clique.
Yeah, you had a meal, and maybe we used to sing and we used to go for sleepovers during the holidays. And all of a sudden, you're out of high school and life has changed. You're up and down. And all of a sudden, I feel like you don't have friends around you, and you're like, "Am I really that boring? Is my life? Am I kovu? You know, for the people who are born again, and you sort of now lock yourself in because you feel like you don't fit in anywhere.
Yeah.
But one thing, like I said, you outgrow some friends. Understand that some friendships will be there for a season. Number 2, you need to understand the kind of person you are. If you have pain and issues you need to deal with, then you need to deal with those first. Because you actually come to find out that you lose some friendships because of stuff you're going through.
Because it gets to a place where what you're going through repels the people, or the things that you've gone through in the past make you handle people in a certain way that pushes them away from you.
So now to answer your questions, how far will I be willing to go to save a friendship? Then I'd look at those 2 factors. Then I'd bring in another factor, which is, what does that friendship do to me? Okay.
I don't know. Do we ever think about what does that friendship do to me? I think most of the time we're always thinking, they're my friend.
Yeah. And you're crying in your bed and your pillow is the only one which knows the story.
Yeah.
You know? But I came to realize, because I've also lost friends in the past.
Tell me about
a few months, a few years down the line, you realize, I actually don't miss this person. You know? But it's just the truth. And the truth is, if you find yourself in that position, then you are the one who was probably giving much into that friendship.
Yeah, because then comes the issue where you're in a friendship, but you're constantly the one giving. You're giving. It's I will come from my place to your place so that we can hang out. I will sort the bills so that we can have lunch. I will keep complimenting you so that you can feel okay hanging around me. I will be okay with meeting your strange friends. Because
just so that I don't want to lose you, because I feel like you're so important to me. So it's not even 100, it's not even 50-50. The truth is, you're giving your all into it, and the other person is not necessarily giving in the same, you know. So you sit down and evaluate those things. So am I the one who's giving a lot into this relationship? Yes, because this other person is probably selfish. So am I willing to save this? No. Why? Because it's draining me. You understand? But then there are those friendships which are actually worth saving.
Yeah, like how I'd run to save our friendship right now. This is not toxic at all. Like, Wambui, you're not going away from me.
This one is for life.
This is for life. Like 10 years. Because you see, the illusion that we always had, especially growing up, is that the people that we had as friends right from then, that we will always know each other and get to know each other's whereabouts. So you find that there are people who you were with in primary school, and then you come to life, and at some point in your life you realize you don't even remember their names.
Exactly.
As in, who was my desk mate when I was in primary? Who was? And you're like, I don't remember. And yet you guys used to be really tight.
Yeah.
But the illusion that was created is that as long as you guys are friends now, it's going to last. And sometimes you even used to talk about plans to do with the future.
Yeah. Like when I'll be your maid of honor, you know, and our kids will be and stuff like that. And right now you can't even remember their names. It's just a sad reality.
And even if the sad part is, even if you met them right now, probably clicking again to that level where you guys were initially will be work.
Challenge. Yeah. It will be a very big challenge. And so some of us, and that's the other mistake, by the way. Some friendships we outgrow and the season is over. But then we meet and we want to make it, it's the first time.
Kindle, and you want it to be, we meet every Friday the way we used to. We go out for sleepovers every day.
You realize that it will be such an uphill task. And it will be so frustrating.
Yeah, because the other person
telling yourself, this person has changed. Maybe they never did. Maybe the friendship just ran out of time, and you guys just need to, tell each other that, we used to know
okay.
each other. And it's okay.
Yeah, we can still talk once in a while, but I wouldn't come to your place for a sleepover. And
you don't have to tell me anything about yourself. I don't have to tell you anything about myself. So
so it doesn't mean that simply because we've met again, the universe is bringing us back together because of our friendship. All right, so we've talked about family, we've talked about friends. Let's talk about now romantic relationships, which again can be quite wide. But how far would you go to save a romantic relationship? Now, in this context, we're not talking about marriage, because that would be you probably, I don't know, probably people would have to debate if you can work out or not. But that's a whole other idea. But now we're talking about we will get hosts and guests for that.
Yeah.
But for now, we're talking about boyfriend, girlfriend, fiance, something.
Wow.
Yeah, because at least even when you're engaged, you're not really married. Okay, so how far would you go to save it?
Okay, I don't think the factors are really different from, the whole friendship and all that. But let me go back to my first point where I mentioned about, knowing yourself and the things you have to deal with. Because I've come to know that there are people who are people pleasers. They're just there. And maybe they don't even realize that they're out there to please people, but maybe it's because of, stuff they actually went through. And so if we also find ourselves in romantic relationships where we want to overcompensate, we want to overplease our partners, so I don't want to say this because this will hurt him, and I don't want, you always want to be the...
At this point, someone should get me a tissue.
The counselor, you want to be always the one providing. And so for those people, they always find themselves back into toxic relationships. Time and time again. And they say they would actually go to very great lengths to make relationships work.
Because that is where you find you're dating a guy. You guys are not really married. He's gone out. He has baby number 1. He's cheated time number 1, time number 2, time number 3. He comes back home, tells you you have baby number 2 outside, and you're still there.
Exactly.
Hanging on, hoping that one day he will still come back to you and make things.
You need to actually get to a point where you're honest with yourself and tell yourself, this baggage I can carry, this other one I can't, And so if you realize you can't carry some certain sort of baggage, then you don't fight for that relationship.
True. I was actually thinking something to myself yesterday, and I was realizing by the time you actually settle to probably be in a relationship, you're choosing your problems.
Yes. And some of us don't look at it that way.
Yeah, you're choosing your problems. You are actually choosing them. Over and above the perfect scenario that we always want to paint, but we're saying if I choose X, it is because I am choosing X with all the strengths and all the weaknesses that come with it. So I need to be careful what problems I want to be dealing with moving forward.
And some of us don't look at it that way.
And so because you don't know that, then you're ready to go to any lengths to save it, despite all the signs that are showing you that.
And before you know it, it has dragged you so far. That by the time you're actually deciding, I've had it, you've lost so much time. Your emotions have been wasted, and finding your way back can be another, torturing process.
True.
But it's always worth it, And so that question has its own dynamics, of course. But this is what I say. If I find out that I need to end a relationship, even the day after the dowry has been given, trust me, I think I'll just end it. Because you'd rather go through a broken engagement if you really have the reasons to, as opposed to a broken marriage.
All right. Now, it is interesting that the Bible says that if you come to the altar with an offering and you remember of a brother, a relationship that needs to be fixed, leave your offering at the altar, go fix that relationship, and then come finish what you're doing. And so many times we just do not know how best to contextualize that or how best to do that, because then we use that as a basis to fix everything, even what is really out of our hands to fix. It was an interesting conversation. Thank you very much, my dear.
Thank you.
So basically what we are saying is, weigh the options. Which is heavier?